Hey, sports card fans, it's John, Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. Since I started my quest for these 100 cards for $100,000, I've been able to pick up some really cool cards to add to my collection. We're talking the 1950 Bowman Yogi Berra, the 51 Bowman Warren Spahn, the 53 Bowman Pee Wee Reese, the 58 Topps Hank Aaron, and the 71 Topps Thurman Munson, just to name a few. But this one here, card number 33, I think is the one that I am most excited about.
I'm so excited
to finally have in my collection, and it's one that I didn't think I would actually ultimately get. When I first put this list together back in, I think it was November of 2021, for this particular card, I was hoping to get it in a PSA 6. And at the time, PSA 6s were going for around $100. Let's fast forward to February of 2023, and that same PSA 6 is now selling for the average VCP price is around $150. So it has gone up in price since I put this list together. But it's a card that I really would have liked to get in a PSA 6. So I knew I would have to spend a little bit more on it. So I've been looking for this card for some time. We're talking several months. I've been looking for this particular card. This card in general tends to be off center a lot, left to right. And the card has a sort of a unique sort of print marker, print error. Not really an error, but like a print mark to it. Some cards more prominent than others. So I've been struggling to find the right copy, the right centering, the right one that has that the printing error a little bit less noticeable. And so again, kept struggling and was even willing to go down to a PSA 5. I said, okay, I'm not worrying about the particular grade. If I find a PSA 5 copy, maybe I can save a little bit of money, maybe get down to that original $100 budget. Kept looking at 5s and 6s, and again, they were just, I couldn't find the right one for the visual eye appeal for me. So I don't know if it was out of desperation, but not too long ago here, I just did an eBay search. Okay, just show me all the PSA copies of this particular card that are up for sale. And it's not like there weren't any 5s or 6s out there. They just, again, didn't meet my eye appeal or the asking price. Either the starting bid or the buy it now price was just way more than I wanted to spend on it. So again, I just started looking at any PSA copies, and I came across this listing that said it was a PSA 4. And, on my phone, the little thumbnail image, you can sort of tell centering and things like that, and looked fairly well centered. So I clicked on the listing and clicked on the image, and it was a little off center. This time a little bit off center top to bottom, which, depending on that, I don't really have a problem with, but left to right was pretty good. I said, okay, this looks nice. Started looking more closely at the card. Corners looked nice. Surface looked nice. I checked the back. The back looked nice. I'm like, man, this is a really nice, sharp looking PSA 4. I even zoomed in. Right, is there a crease somewhere that, how did this get a PSA 4? And it took me a little while to realize that even though it was listed as a PSA 4, the card itself was actually a PSA 6. So I thought, all right, I had a similar experience like this before. For this past Christmas, I was going to get, among other cards, this one card for Mike Baseball Collector. Not an expensive card. It was a Ted Simmons, I think 1981 Topps card. And I think the listing was a buy it now, and it said PSA 7. Well, I noticed that the image was actually a PSA 8. So I jumped on that listing, buy it now, paid for it, and sure enough, the next day, the seller refunded my money and marked that the item was no longer available. So the seller realized that, oh shoot, I made a mistake. This was a PSA 8. I priced it as a buy it now for a PSA 7 or whatever, and refunded my money, which was fine. It turns out Mike actually had bought that card not too soon before I did. So it all worked out. And I got my money back, no harm, no foul. So I thought, all right, even if I win this card, I'm sure they're going to realize that it was written up as a PSA 4, but it was actually PSA 6. Now, this seller had over 10,000 feedback, like 99.7% positive. So this wasn't a newbie on eBay. I still felt like at some point, either they're going to end the listing early, or hey, if I should happen to be lucky enough to win it, sure enough, I'll pay for it and they'll refund my money and say it's no longer available because they'll realize the error. So I kept watching it. It got down to close to the end, and the current auction price was sort of around that PSA 4 level. And I'm thinking there were like 6 other bidders, I think. So I'm like, they've got to realize that this is they're showing off a PSA 6. So again, went down to the very end. Now, to be fair and honest, I put my maximum bid as though I was going after a PSA 6 because I really wanted this card. And sure enough, I won it. And I won it for maybe what a average VCP price for PSA 5. But I was still very, very, very happy that I got it for the price that I did. So, of course, I paid for it right away. Just there you go. Now, I think the auction ended, it was either on a Friday or Saturday evening. So I waited. No message, no refund. Kept waiting. Couple days later, and got a notification that shipped. The seller was from New York. I'm from Pennsylvania. I think it was like 2 or 3 days later. I got it in the mail, opened up the package, and it was the PSA 6.
Outstanding.
So glad to get this. So again, the PSA 6, I originally thought I'd have to pay $100 for it. Come today, those PSA 6s, the average goes for around $150. This auction that I won, all in, shipping, tax, $97. To put the icing on the cake, I had some PayPal money, plus I had a little bit of eBay bucks that I was holding off on using. So out of pocket, this card cost me $12.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I don't know. It's everything worked out, and the stars aligned, and I am so happy to show off this card to you. Card number 33 on my list of 100 cards for $100,000. So let's go take a look. All right, before I show off card number 33, I want to show off, do a recap here and show off card number 31 because it sort of plays into this here. Card number 31 was this 1969 Topps Corey Yastrzemski. This card was driving me nuts to try to find. I wanted a PSA 7. Maybe, again, I would have gone down to a PSA 6. But as I explained in the original video, this card was obviously notorious for being off-center. There tended to be some ink marks right there at the top of the white border. And on a lot of copies, there was some ink smudges around his neck. I even saw some copies where there was like a ink line along his arm there. And then the other common print mark you can see right there near the end of his bat, that little line there. So hard to find without any of those errors, but I finally found my 1969 Topps Corey Yastrzemski. And the reason why I talk about this, not necessarily about the flaws, but with acquiring this card, it left me one card away from completing my Carl Yastrzemski run. When I started my building my vintage collection, I think it was maybe summer of 2020, maybe. The goal was to collect PSA graded Hall of Famers. And over the time period, I'd pick up cards here, there, maybe focused on 78 cards. And I was trying to do the Hall of Famers by year. Then I started going all about here and there, picking up cards. And as I was doing so, I was picking up some Corey Yastrzemski cards. So I then focused and said, hey, I'd love to do a complete player run of Carl Yastrzemski. And it has taken me quite some time to get to this point where after picking this card up, I was one card away from completing my player run, and it was the 1962 Topps. And this is the card that I went through all that explanation of in the beginning. This is the PSA 6 copy, and just look at that.
It's pretty. It's so pretty.
It, again, a lot of these 62s are off center, left to right. It's not perfect, but that is one of the, for again, this mid-grade type of card. The centering is really nice on that. Now the print defect, if you want to call it, and you may be able to see it here. And if you're not familiar with the 62 Topps Yastrzemski, just do an eBay search and you'll notice. You can sort of see it here right in the center near his uniform and around his bat. There's like a pink, like the ink is, there's like a pink area that extends from like his bat to his jersey there. And again, the reason why you may not be able to see it very well is this copy here is not as pronounced. Other ones I've seen have gone all the way up through like the middle of his bat, all the way, like it takes up the middle of the card. And it's like a discoloration of his uniform. And it just doesn't, again, for my eye appeal, knowing that I wanted to get nicer copies of Corey Yastrzemski cards, just it put me off. So again, when I saw this copy here, that again was listed as a PSA 4, but was a PSA 6, oh, I am so happy to get this card. Check out the back. The back's nice as well. It's just a gorgeous card. I am so excited to have this now and to complete my Carl Yastrzemski run. So here it is, card number 33 on my list of 100 cards for $100,000. So you know what video is coming up next. My showcase of my Carl Yastrzemski Topps Playing Day Complete Run. So, as I normally end these 100 cards for $100,000 videos, I talk about where I am in terms of what I thought I'd have to pay to get, in this case, these 33 cards versus what I actually spent. So, the savings continued on from card 32 because, again, I originally thought I'd have to pay $100 to get a PSA 6. In reality, all the other PSA 6s out there, I probably would have had to pay at least $150, if not more. There's some out there that are $180, $200. I've seen some that someone wants $280, I think. Buy it now, and no best offer for PSA 6. Hasn't sold, of course. But for these 33 cards that I now have in my collection, I thought I would have to spend $5,375. In reality, what I've spent is $4,565. So I'm still $810 to the good. Not that I'm sitting on $810 over here that I can now spend, but I've done, I think, fairly well in keeping under that anticipated cost, because I know, again, the longer that it takes me to buy these cards, a lot of these cards, vintage cards, are still overall doing fairly well. And I know by the time I get to some of these cards that either I'm going to have to really drop down in the initial grade, or I'm going to have to pay more than I originally anticipated to. So far I'm doing quite well. I don't know what card is going to be next on my radar for card number 34.
I can't wait.
I have a couple ideas. It's going to take me a little while probably to be in a position to come up with the funds to buy it, but nonetheless, this has been for me a really exciting project, and again has allowed me to narrow my focus in terms of some of the cards that I go after, particularly the Corey Yastrzemski run. So Ray from Philly beat me by about a week in completing his Corey Yastrzemski run, and I figured he would. When he's focused on those player runs, he really knocks those cards out. So I figured he'd beat me, but yeah, he got me by a week, which is great. Glad that Ray was able to complete his Yastrzemski run, and now I have finally completed mine. So get ready for my next video, because I will be showing my entire 24 card Corey Yastrzemski Topps run. So with that, that's all I have for you. Until next time, thanks for watching.